All right, welcome everybody. It's good to see you all here. And gee whiz, let's see, Nancy, who is incognito tonight as Rick, is down in Florida, but the rest of us are here suffering through the depths of a Michigan winter. What's the temperature where you are, Nancy? Snowbird?
It's about got up to about 75 today with 100% humidity.
Oh,
We are hearing that Florida may get some snow.
See,
Can
we're
you
in
hear that?
southern Florida. The northern part of
Oh,
Florida
okay.
still might get
Okay.
snow.
Yeah.
really?
Yes. And
Well,
Texas.
at any rate, I'm happy for you. I'm jealous, but since I can't have 75 degrees, you be my next choice, you and Rick, okay?
Ah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, so I'll enjoy it vicariously through you guys. That's the best I can do. Anyhow, this is the Unity of Livonia Course in Miracles Study Group. It is a small but mighty group of Course in Miracles students, and I certainly appreciate your dedication and appreciate being able to serve as the facilitator for this group. Do you have any questions, comments, criticism, anything you want to share before we move on? Well, I didn't do any preliminary stuff. It just occurs to me that at the speed we're able to cover this very in-depth material, that if it's okay with you, I thought we'd just get started and kind of pick up where we left off last week.
And keep moving on.
Yeah, just keep banging away at it and hopefully we'll come out of it with something. We are in the first supplement called Psychotherapy, and it has a few sections. It was a short section on the purpose of psychotherapy. And then we're into the major section of it now called the process of psychotherapy. And it had an introduction, which we've covered. That was on page 4. Y'all got your books out. I may as well do it by page number, right?
Sure.
So on page 4, we started the process of psychotherapy, and it's a long section. It has something like 7 subsections. And then, so that's going to take us a while to get through. And then the third part is called the practice of psychotherapy. And that starts way over on page 18
Ooh.
and runs about 6 pages and will be done with this supplement.
Wow.
So psychotherapy, if you'll recall, was received by Helen Schuckman in 1973. So she worked with that for a while. And then in 1977, 4 years later, Jesus came back yet again with another supplement called the Song of Prayer. So there's a lot of material here. We don't understand half of it, but somehow we feel like it means something, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I learned, but I learned something, right? So we are just going to keep moving with this. let me welcome Kathy. I haven't seen her for a while.
Kathy,
Let me get you unmuted here. Let's see. We need you to unmute your. There we go. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Looks
Hi,
like
Kathy.
you're in
Hi.
transit there in the car.
Yes, I am. So I'm going to turn my video off, but I'll be listening.
Well, I'm so glad to have you. It's great to see you again and happy
Yes.
New Year to you. Okay.
Hi.
We
Nice to
are
see everyone.
Pardon me?
Nice to see everyone too.
Indeed. We are in the supplements to A Course in Miracles. We started those on January 7th, and I anticipate we will be in the study of these two supplements. It's going to take us probably maybe till the end of March, I hope. So we left off on page 6, entitled The Place of Religion in Psychotherapy. So as usual, let's get our reader list. Is there anyone who does not want to read?
Brave.
Who said no?
No, I just said, I'll be brave. I'll read today.
Oh, we're so glad. All
good.
right. That's
And-
great. Now,
And
I'm
I will
gonna,
I will not read, Kathy.
yeah, I was going to block
But
you
thank
out.
you for that.
I don't want to be liable for you trying to read and you're in your car. So, I have Sherilyn as reader 1, then Frank is 2, Ron is 3, Hilda 4, Nancy 5, Joan will be reader 6. So does that sound okay to everybody? I know you can't wait to get started. Sherilyn, would you with
I will.
started here?
Okay. The role of the psychotherapist.
Wait.
page
We're
6.
on page 6. Is that where you
Oh,
are?
I'm sorry. I thought we were starting where the page said. Okay,
Yeah.
page 6, the place of religion in psychotherapy.
Yes.
To
ma'am.
be a teacher of God, it is not necessary to be religious or even to believe in God to any recognizable extent. It is necessary, however, to teach forgiveness rather than condemnation. Even in this, complete consistency is not required. For one who had achieved that point would teach salvation completely within an instant and without a word.
Hmm.
Yet he who has learned all things does not need a teacher, and the healed have no need for a therapist. Relationships are still the temple of the Holy Spirit, and they will be made perfect in time and restored to eternity.
And Frank, let's do another paragraph, right?
Number 2, formal religion has no place in psychotherapy, but also has no real place in religion. In the world, there is an astonishing tendency to join contradictory words into one term without perceiving the contradiction at all. The attempts to formalize religion is so obviously an ego attempt to reconcile the irreconcilable that it hardly requires elaboration here. Religion is experience, psychotherapy, and experience. At the highest levels, they become one. Neither is truth itself, but both can lead to truth. What can be necessary to find truth, which remains perfectly obvious, but to remove the seeming obstacles to true awareness.
Okay. We have, well, let's see. Sue is not here tonight, but Frank, you've got some background and training in psychotherapy, correct?
Well, it's been 30 years since I've had any
Well, that's more training than I've had.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we'll use you as kind of our barometer for. I'm still with the question: are psychiatrists or psychotherapists trained in the same way that this is describing psychotherapy? Do you
Well,
see any elements between what this teaches and how you approached psychotherapy in your classes?
it'd be totally different between the psychiatrists, psychologists. The psychiatrists are MDs, first of all, and psychologists may or may not
Well,
have.
forgive my misuse of words. That was not my point. Let's just use the word psychotherapy.
Okay.
So you've had some training in psychotherapy. For example, did they ever talk about remembering God or talk about what things we would call religious or spiritual
No,
as part of nope?
I've also experienced a lot of psychotherapy myself, and then God was not part of it.
Okay. Um, One of the things to me, the very first sentence, it says, to be a teacher of God, it is not necessary to be religious or even to believe in God. So I would assume that's the same is true for a psychotherapist. So, what I wanted to ask you all, you're not all psychotherapists, but you are teachers of God. And I just wondered your reaction to that statement as teachers of God. So, and why? Are you saying to be a teacher of God, you don't have to be religious?
That's what it seems to
Yeah.
say.
I mean, you have theological classes that teach Buddhism, that teach Islam, that teaches whatever. And it doesn't, so it's not like saying, you have a particular thing that you're teaching.
I see.
It's like different branches and say, well, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be the other thing.
Yeah.
Or it could be science, and yet, all of it really refers to the same thing. It's just that people don't use the words
Okay.
to identify God itself, I think is impossible anyways. And so you use words to define it in some fashion that makes sense to our ego.
Yes.
Well, sentence 2 says it is necessary to teach forgiveness rather than condemnation. After saying it's not necessary to be a teacher of God
Right.
or to be religious, but it is necessary to teach forgiveness. And that's what ACIM is all about, really.
Have you heard ACIM referred to any religion?
No.
No,
So, as a teacher of God, it sounds like you could be religious,
sure.
or
would
you
think so.
could not be religious. And I guess, like Hilda was saying, as a teacher of God, we are involved with teaching that
Mhm.
is above categories. And I think it's going to go on to say these categories are man made, or the implication.
Yeah.
These are man made, arbitrary, if you will, categories.
Yes.
And rather than being helpful,
They hinder.
they end up
Yes.
being harmful if you're
Yeah.
going to use that as your primary approach to things. I remember for me, I was first surprised. The one that introduced me to the course was Marianne Williamson. And I was surprised to hear that she was Jewish, but was so captivated by this writing from Jesus. And that was kind of a dichotomy. I didn't expect that. But now that I understand the course, is any religion or spirituality mentioned in A Course in Miracles?
No.
I don't think so.
Is any place on earth ever mentioned in A Course in Miracles?
I
No.
don't think so.
So I agree. I guess it's a teaching that rises above these
Yeah.
categories. So is that a good interpretation? So we're off to a good start here.
Feels right.
I think so.
Mm.
All right. So this is a unique calling, isn't it?
Yes.
What are your thoughts about it is necessary, however, to teach forgiveness rather than condemnation? Any thoughts there, since you mentioned it, Sherilyn, or any?
Well, to me, that's what we do with ACIM. We talk all the time about forgiveness and not condemning that's really the core of it, I think.
All right. I won't belabor it too much. Anything else from you on the first paragraph?
I'm having a little difficult time where it says that we don't have to believe in God to be a teacher of God.
Yeah,
That's a little difficult for me. So,
right.
Uh,
But that's, I think, is the idea, though. I mean, you know, you can say, I teach Russian, but I don't have to believe in the language or even like the language, but I have to have the technology or the knowledge of the language. So it's two different things. That you can go as a teacher, you can teach anything, but that doesn't mean that you have to identify with it.
yeah, I appreciate that, and both Ron and Hilda are bringing up some themes that I think you'll see kind of discussed as we go further. Let me ask you this: if you feel you have to believe in God to be a teacher of God, how do you teach atheists? Because I don't think you're gonna attract them by telling them how they have to believe in God.
I think that you could still get pretty far along just by teaching forgiveness
Yeah,
and
see, go ahead.
not stressing on avoiding condemnation, but you can do that without talking about God
Yeah,
or
maybe
mentioning.
there are some universal topics that atheists might be interested in.
Mhm.
I kind of maybe want to present a little bit of an example. I had a conversation with somebody who is not religious and is a scientist. And we had the conversation about the saying, well, I don't believe in God. But you know, by the same token, he was saying, well, what he's doing is measuring the size of the universe and saying there comes a point that you're far enough removed and that the light doesn't reflect anymore and it doesn't come back. And he was saying, and eventually there is a barrier to say beyond that, we can't measure it. And I said, well, why don't you call it God? You can call it anything. I mean, you
Yeah.
can call it the unknown, the not able to be known, or you can call it science, or you can call it whatever, I mean, it's just the word that
Yeah.
you use to identify something that is beyond your comprehension.
No, and just the fact that it's there, the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
seems to refer to some sort of, how did that get there? The unknown.
Well, you hear a lot about it when you get into science and everything. There are a lot of questions they have that don't add up, other than maybe it's God or something like that. They I can't articulate the different kinds of sciences and the things that they're doing, but I've seen a lot of information on it. And very often they'll say, beyond this, I don't know. We can't seem to detect anything.
And then you bump up against the most fundamental law there is, the law of cause and effect. So you may find, I don't know, but if it's there, or even if it's not there, what's causing it to appear this way? It must have a cause. Everything has a cause.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is you go just so far and then you can't figure the next step. Maybe someday you will be able to, or we will have more knowledge than we have now, but
That's another level.
You know,
it's another level.
there's something that seems to be beyond our ability to discern.
Yeah, our current ability.
And whatever it is, it seems to work so well. And that's been there
All
forever.
this time, yeah.
That after a while, all you can do is get on your knees and respect it. So, yeah, thank you. Those are all very good insights, and we're just getting started. How about paragraph 2, my friends, where it starts out, formal religion has no place in psychotherapy. But interestingly enough, Jesus says here, formal religion has no place in religion either. Is he just trying to confuse us, or is he serious?
Oh, makes
I
perfect,
don't think Jesus would do that. He's serious.
makes perfect sense.
Yes.
To me, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because it goes right back, because when we're talking about psychotherapy, we're talking about working of our minds, which is part of level 2 activity of us. And anything has to be open because, like even as it said in the New Testament, there are many paths to reach the same goal, or many rooms in heaven. If it weren't so, I would have told you. So all this is wide open. And you don't want to limit yourself and saying, well, psychotherapy, you have to believe such and such, and it works this way, because
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
every person as an individual in level 2 has their own little quirks and their own little way to get where they need to go. And so to limit it, to say that you have to believe in something, just that would only work for part of the group of the people, but it wouldn't work for another group. And psychotherapy is supposed to be good for our mind, or for all of us.
So you quoted from the Bible, in my Father's house there are many mansions. If this were not true, I would have told you so. That's from the Bible, and that's Christianity.
Right.
Although it's kind of mixed up because Jesus wasn't a Christian.
That's right.
Jesus was Jewish. But anyhow, don't let me get bogged down there. If you take that and use it as an analogy for whether you come at it in another direction, basically what it says to me is there are many ways to get to this destination.
Yes.
Why?
Why not?
Okay, that's like a non-answer, isn't it?
And
Well,
there
do we
comes a,
have an answer?
there comes a
I
point when the
do.
why doesn't have an answer.
To me, we always say God is love, right?
Right.
So would it be kind not to allow you to get there the way you want? Same destination, but I will accommodate your various needs and pathways
That's
because ultimately there won't be any other place to go. So whether you got there through science or religion or spirituality or plain old common sense, get there the way you want, and I love you, okay? Here, let's do it your way. But ultimately, it'll still be my way. So the more we've developed in science, we start to see its similarity to spirituality.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you also, I think it's around sentence, well, it starts at sentence 4, and I think I put it at the top of the agenda. You know how I'm always putting a quote at the top of our agenda. It's 4. Religion is experience, psychotherapy is experience. At the highest levels, they become one.
Yeah.
I was intrigued by that. Why is psychotherapy and religion the same? I didn't say formal religion. Okay.
One of the therapists I studied that I really appreciated who taught about being unconditional loving, a man named Carl Rogers, and Bill Thetford worked with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we believe in unconditional acceptance, unconditional love. I like his approach. But Bill was a therapist. He worked with Carl Rogers before he worked with Helen.
I see. Yeah. So that intellectual circle, well, here, let me back up and go back to the original premise here. Did you know that why is psychotherapy and religion, not formal religion, but religion, one? Why is Jesus saying that here? In it says, it at the highest levels they become one.
Because you're talking about the mind, and the mind, whether you want to call it as a scientifically analyze it, or whether you want to analyze it in another way, it's all the same thing. It's all affecting our mind, our brain, and maybe I would say our soul. Or so to me, this is all the same thing.
Yeah.
So again, I just think it's a repetition of they're all means to the same place. They have the same purpose. They have the same goal. And that is to reach a certain experience. Wasn't that the key word? Religion is experience and psychotherapy is experience.
Experience.
They're
Yes.
helping to facilitate meeting the conditions to start experiencing something that is beyond what you thought your experience is. So again, they're means to an end. They're both a means to the same end. Why is a formal religion excluded?
My thought off the top of my head is that there are a lot of people needing and working with psychotherapy who might not do that if they had to think it was God or religion.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I also think actually formal religion is very limiting.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you're talking about to saying we have therapy, but it's within that frame of reference pertaining to whatever religion you happen to talk about.
Right.
And
Right.
some of it can be terribly dogmatic, and another one can be wide open. It all requires different aspects of dealing with the individual, you know, which
Yes.
level
Yes.
2 existence here on Earth. I mean, that's what this is all about. It's not about level 1, because level 1 is there's no need for any of that. But level 2 there is.
I'm with you, Hilda. Boy, she's smart, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Are you starting to see a pattern here that every activity here is a path to learning something? They're all appear to be different, but they seem related, because he's starting to see all of these things that are going to end up leading to the same place. That's ultimately, they all have the same goal. There are a zillion ways to
Right.
learn that. Which one do you like? Which one resonates with you? Then that becomes your path. The paths appear to be separate, but it's not the path that's gonna matter. It's the end of that path is where you'll see they're all going to teach you the same thing. So I'm going to stop, because that's the speech on 2 paragraphs. Your comments here.
Right.
Then
Well,
comment?
we've already made a lot of them.
I think so. Ron, I think you're next, right?
Yes, number 3. It is quite possible for psychotherapy to seem to fail.
Wait, where are you?
Where are you?
You know what? I think I'm on the wrong page.
Yeah,
I turned the page to see where. I'm sorry.
that's right.
Page 6.
Yes, page 6. No one who learns to forgive can fail to remember God. Forgiveness, then, is all that need be taught, because it is all that need be learned. All blocks to the remembrance of God are forms of unforgiveness and nothing else. This is never apparent to the patient and only rarely to the therapist. The world has marshaled all its forces against this one awareness, for in it lies the ending of the world and all it stands for.
And let's go to the next paragraph before we discuss. Hilda?
Okay. Yet it is not the awareness of God that constitutes a reasonable goal for psychotherapy. This will come when psychotherapy is complete, for where there is forgiveness, truth must come. It would be unfair indeed to believe in God for necessary to psychotherapy success. Nor is belief in God a really meaningful concept, for God can be but known. Belief implies that unbelief is possible, but knowledge of God has no true opposite. Not to know God is to have no knowledge. And it is to this that all unforgiveness leads. And without knowledge, one can have only belief.
How much have you heard about I believe? You just have to believe.
Right? Because you don't know.
So it's a cop-out to believe. It's an excuse for not knowing. Comment.
Is it the ego that believes?
It's the ego that offers substitutes. Okay. If you really want to know, you have to first admit you don't know. Paradoxical, isn't it? This whole process, my friends, is not a creative process. It's not like if you keep doing this and doing this and doing this, you'll eventually create something new. If I work hard at it, I'll make it happen. Have you ever heard making it happen?
Oh, yes, yes.
If I really believe, that's the issue. It's my lack of belief. And that's why I'm not where I'd like to be. I just have to believe. Isn't that what the world teaches?
Yes, it is.
Sucker. You see the ego at work?
Yep.
Seek and do not find. The ego teaches you salvation is in your belief. It's the opposite of what's true. Truth is in no way impacted by what you believe. That's the teaching of this course. However, if you would just let the truth be itself, it would be beyond all of your wildest dreams for your happiness. You're not gonna make this happen. The way for it to happen is for you to take your hands off of it. You got your books there. Look at page 1, way back at the beginning of A Course in Miracles. You know, the one that says, this is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course, you know, page 1, the introduction. How many of you can find it there? Are you there?
Very quickly.
It reads, this is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary.
Right.
I want to go to sentence 6. This course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love. Why? Because the meaning of love is not teachable. Am I paraphrasing that okay?
Yep.
Right.
The course does aim, however, at getting rid of all the crap that you have made that blocks your awareness of what you think you're looking for. The reason that you're looking for it is not because it's not there. It's because you covered it over with your own ideas. So what we're going to do is try and remove the blocks to your awareness that what you are seeking has never not been there. You've allowed yourself to be sabotaged away from it. And you continue to do so when you try and put belief in place of experience. So if I could erase all this crap off of you, you would experience what you've been looking for. It didn't go away. You covered it with false beliefs. What's that you say? Beliefs? Wait, I've been trapped by my own beliefs? But everybody tells me I have to believe and that I have to live my own truth about what I believe. And what we're trying to get us to understand is that what you believe is the trap. It's not up to what you believe. And be ye thankful it's not. Because what you believe would be good for you, but not necessarily good for everybody. And Source doesn't work that way. It's one thing all the time for everyone. Does that sound loving to you?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Very-
How loving then is what you believe? Do you have the capacity to believe what is good for everyone?
No.
No.
Gotta work on it.
What was that?
We have to work on it.
Mhm.
And the irony, the paradoxical thing about it is the work is not doing,
It's letting.
Being.
undo. Yes, just being. And stop covering it over with false beliefs, and what you're looking for will be found. Now, you say, well, what if I go about it this way? You'll find it. What if I go about it this way? You'll find it that way too. It's just that you have to allow the Holy Spirit, your guide in this thing, use the particular path you've chosen to steer it in the right direction. It can take any of your paths that you like and guide them to the same place. But the key is you have to let him do it. Because you should resign now as your own teacher. You've read this, right? Resign as your own teacher.
I'm learning
All right. But do you see how this course is very integrated? It doesn't contradict itself. It's not like you didn't read this on the first page. It's that you didn't pay attention to it. And why should you? Because you need to have an explanation before you accept things, right?
Right.
And yet, if you took that on full faith the first time on page 1, you could have saved yourself a whole lot of time, right? But he says, no, I'm going to need about 1,200 pages, okay, before it even occurs to you to give it a try. He says, that's okay. Is that loving?
Yes.
I told you on page 1. But you wanted to think about it, didn't you?
Yep.
Okay, we'll play that game right along with you. How are we doing here? Did we do paragraph 4?
Yep.
Yes.
We
Any
summarized
other
that.
comments on 3 or 4 from you guys? All right, we better move on or I'll be here all night. It's funny how you can do a whole speech on every sentence, isn't it?
Right.
But we won't. Nancy, you want to read? We're on paragraph 5, my friend.
Okay, 5. Different teaching aids appeal to different people. Some forms of religion have nothing to do with God, and some forms of psychotherapy have nothing to do with healing. Yet if pupil and teacher join in sharing one goal, God will enter into their relationship because he has been invited to come in. In the same way, a union of purpose between patient and therapist restores the place of God to ascendance, first through Christ's vision, and then through the memory of God himself. The process of psychotherapy is the return to sanity. Teacher and pupil, therapist and patient are all insane or they would not be here. Together they can find a pathway out, for no one will find sanity alone.
And let's go to Joan for paragraph 6.
Okay. If healing is an invitation to God to enter into his kingdom, what difference does it make how the invitation is written? Does the paper matter, or the ink, or the pen? Or is it he who writes that gives the invitation? God comes to those who would restore his world, for they have found the way to call to him. If any two are joined, he must be there. It does not matter what their purpose is, but they must share it wholly to succeed. It is impossible to share a goal not blessed by Christ, for what is unseen through his eyes is too fragmented to be meaningful.
Thank you. So as I look at paragraph 5 and 6, it begs a question. I want to see if you know the answer. What is the method that should be used, or that, let me put it this way. What is the method that the Holy Spirit or God or whatever you want to call it uses to restore the memory of God? Is it by having you find the right person that can teach you? Where are you going to find them? Because by definition, you everyone here is insane. So what is that mechanism that can restore the memory of God? It's certainly not finding the smartest person. Where are you going to find them? They're insane too.
Right here,
Right.
What's that, Hilda?
right here,
And
it says where there's more than one together, we are all together, so we have that power, we'll have that power.
So you're saying that everybody's insane.
Right,
So
you're insane, you're teaching us, we're insane, but we agree that we are also, we're saved. Because we recognize that, you know, that we are insane.
well, I thought maybe you were looking for a smart person, like a guru or something, who's sane, and then that's you'll learn from them how to be sane. But he's saying, no, that's not
No.
the mechanism.
No, it could be the other way around. Could be any combination, because, you know, we talked about that before, to say a teacher can be a student and a student can be a teacher, and both of them can be the same thing at the same time. So it
The
not
Holy-
those definitions to give a name to whatever it is meaningless, because we are all the same, but we
So
just don't recognize it. A
the
lot of
way
people don't want to recognize it because we want to be separate and special, you know, and so we fight that
yes,
because we're afraid to lose our identity, because the ego says, you know, you're really gonna go insane if you lose your identity. I know we can't have that. So, but you have to let go of those cliches and saying it doesn't really matter. So,
okay. So the mechanism is relationships.
right.
Let's back up once again. What is healing? It says, remember it said, I'm at 6. If healing is an invitation to God to enter his kingdom, what difference does it make how the invitation is written? But more fundamentally, what is healing? How does the Course define healing?
Isn't it wholeness?
Yes,
Except wholeness.
the restoration of wholeness, whether it's 2 by 2 or 4 by 4 or 4 million with 4 million, the idea of healing will be accomplished through relationships. That's why where 2 or more are joined in a somewhat common purpose. Let's say it's a psychotherapist and a patient. They have a common goal, right?
Mhm.
They may not know how to pursue it perfectly, but the fact that they come together with a common goal, is that separation or unity, by the way? When you
Unity.
Unity.
okay, isn't unity restoring wholeness?
Yes.
So do you see how this process will inadvertently take over? I didn't say it would be ultimately successful, but it may be one in a multitude of relationships that progressively work. to restore wholeness. Healing is wholeness. Wholeness synergistically brings about holiness. Wholeness produces a synergistic effect. We're back to the symphony orchestra, right? That I'm always talking about. It's where when they join together, they create or they produce something new, which in this case is not something new. It's something old. In the beginning, where all was one, there crept a tiny mad idea that what was one could be two, and what was two could be four, and what was four, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Mhm.
It does not work. Separation causes chaos. It doesn't produce this synergistic effect that wholeness maintains. So if you want to solve a problem, if you want to heal, not just somebody, but everything, the work is to join it, not to perpetuate separation. So when you run into people that you don't like, I'm not saying yet that you need to love them, but please don't make the problem worse by increasing separation. Well, if you don't like me, I don't like you. Isn't that what the world teaches?
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
Comment there?
yes.
Oh, okay. Other comments on 5 and 6? Anything that stands out to you or that makes you question some stuff? And here's the thing too in paragraph 6, where Jesus says, if healing is an invitation to God to enter into his kingdom, what difference does it make how the invitation is written? Well, my ego would say, well, I don't know. It's not on the Pope's stationery, right?
Mhm.
Or it doesn't meet the dictates of my church, or it sounds sacrilegious to me. But it's the message, not the form. So if you're smart, you'll tailor your message to meet the audience. Are you going to present your message the same way to spiritual people as atheists? But what we're saying to you, my friends, is that you can present the same message to diverse audiences that respect the audience without changing the essential message. How do I do that? Wow, what a great speech. How is that done? Guys, I have no idea. But I know someone that knows how to do those things. Its whole specialties is in delivering the same message in a compelling way to everyone. Jesus's message was that of love. He was able to convey those messages to tax collectors, to prostitutes, to Roman soldiers. He may have tailored the message, but the essential message is the same. Love one another instead of separating with one another. Focus on sameness instead of differences. Are there any things that we all have in common?
Love.
Yep.
I would
seekers.
start there. Okay. So it's like the Unity Church that we go to. It basically says there's one presence and one power in the universe. Whatever you call it, you're welcome here. We're not going to focus on how we're different for an hour, hour and a half this Sunday. We're going to talk about some common themes, the fears and hopes that we all have in common. That's a lot we can talk about instead of talking about you're a filthy, miserable sinner, and aren't you lucky to be here where we can save you with the word of God? Filthy,
Show you the path.
miserable, huh?
Said we can show you the path because that's the only one that is the one that works.
You lowly sinner, you.
That's right.
What a welcoming talk. So, what we're looking for is forgiveness. And that is what. Now, what does forgiveness do? Let's just talk about it. What does forgiveness do? It erases. Go ahead, Sherilyn.
I was going to say, it's gone. I'm sorry.
It removes the blocks.
I was going to say it restores wholeness.
Because it removes the blocks, it cancels out the things that have made the separation. And in so doing, if you get rid of the blocks, there won't be nothing there. There'll be everything there that was always there. It just got covered over with crap. Let's go to paragraph 7, and we're back at the beginning, right, Miss White?
Yes, sir. All righty. Paragraph 7. As true religion heals, so must true psychotherapy be religious. Aha. But both have many forms because no good teacher uses one approach to every pupil. On the contrary, he listens patiently to each one and lets him formulate his own curriculum, not the curriculum's goal, but how he can best reach the aim it sets for him. Perhaps the teacher does not think of God as part of teaching. Perhaps the psychotherapist does not understand that healing comes from God. They can succeed where many who believe they have found God will fail.
And let's go to Frank, please.
What must the teacher do to ensure learning? What must the therapist do to bring healing about? Only one thing, the same requirement, salvation asks of everyone. Each one must share one goal with someone else, and in so doing, lose all sense of separate interests. Only by doing this is it possible to transcend the narrow boundaries the ego would impose upon the self. Only by doing this can teacher and pupil, therapist and patient, you and I, accept atonement and learn to give it as it was received.
And let's finish this section before we talk here. How about the last paragraph, Rod?
Right?
Ron,
Wake up.
Hey, Ron, is he okay?
Oh, he's asleep.
Oh, poor guy. Let's go to Hildegard.
Okay, I'll pass them by.
You see?
What
Mhm.
8?
9.
Woman-
9.
Oh, I'm sorry. Communication is impossible alone. No one who stands apart can receive Christ's vision. It is held out to him, but he cannot hold out his hand and receive it. Let him be still and recognize his brother's need is his own. Let him then meet his brother's need as his and see that they are met as one, for such they are. What is religion but an aid in helping him to see that this is so? And what is psychotherapy except a help in just this same direction? It is the goal that makes these processes the same, for they are one in purpose and must thus be one in means.
All right. So I'm going to assume my friend Ron is just nodding out, and that's perfectly fine. We'll check back and see how
It happens when you have a long day, you know.
exactly. What I wanted to do, though, we read the last 3 paragraphs in this section. I would offer a summary, and you help me. Is that what these paragraphs, indeed all of them, are saying? Is that the whole goal of healing? Now, when they say healing, first thing we think of is, oh, I've got a stomach ulcer, or oh, I'm concerned about health issues.
Mhm.
This is more universal. The word healing means making everything well. Don't you agree? It's more global,
Yes.
The
just
wholeness.
health issues. The process that's going on while we're in this world is first because we had the idea of separate heavens. And then we said, oh my God, what have I done? How the heck do I get out of this mess? Help me, God, or whatever you want to call it. So God says, I'll help you. As a matter of fact, I knew you need my help the instant you had this tiny mad idea. And so I provided the help you need, and I gave you the answer. How do you heal? What's the answer to restore everything? The whole thing on Earth plane is designed to get people to restore wholeness through relationships. My goal is to do my part in every relationship that's sent to me. Where do you think your relationships come from? That they're just something all willy-nilly at random? Why is this in your face and not somebody else's? Why you? Just coincidence? So the mission here is to restore wholeness through relationships. That's why I'm here. I'm part of the plan to restore relationships. Certainly not to hurt them. But it took me a lot of years to see what my purpose is. You remember the prayer? Everybody knows it. I am here only to be truly helpful. You mean only that? Yes. Well, I thought I was here to have a good time and be successful and all of that. I thought I was here to be happy. And you're telling me I'm here only to be truly helpful? Yeah, but along the way, you'll receive your goal too. If you want to be truly happy, be helpful. Because every restoration you bring about will produce incremental happiness to them and to you. So your happiness comes from their happiness, and their happiness will come from your happiness. And so you happy each other up into this big vortex, and everybody's freaking happy. That's not the way you might have done it, because you listened to the ego. The ego was showing you another way to happiness. But happiness is one of the outputs of healing. And healing is coming from restored relationships. Where there was two-ness, you work toward oneness. And the way that that happens is through having unified goals. One where you and your brother have the same goal. So if you're a psychotherapist and you have a patient, your goal is to stop being insane. No, I thought the patient was insane. No, you're both insane or you wouldn't be here. But it is through the mutual working toward that goal in all humility that will restore you both. You cannot restore it by yourself. You can't do anything by yourself. But where two or more are joined, it provides the catalyst for the third party to work with both of you on healing. Is that good news, or you already knew that, or isn't this? I had no idea that's what it was. Healing is not fixing your arm or leg or getting that person you don't like the hell out of your life. My life would be fine if it weren't for you. I thought that's what healing was, getting rid of all those people that push your buttons. Isn't that what your ego said it was?
True.
Do you see why this is so earth-shaking to me? And it almost sounds impossible, but the more you let them explain, you start going, maybe that's the secret formula. I had no idea that's how it's what the solution is. So, does that change your life?
Definitely.
Mhm.
Good to know. Comments?
Thank you, that helps
Yeah,
the understanding.
it helped me too. I mean, it was so opposite of everything that I thought life was and what the purpose of life is. Thank you, dear. Shall we move on? All right. I am up to Nancy, and we're on Roman 3. Nancy, the role of the psychotherapist. We're on page 8. Rick, you're still there? I mean, Nancy is still.
I'm still here.
All right.
All righty. The psychotherapist is a leader in the sense that he walks slightly ahead of the patient and helps him to avoid a few of the pitfalls along the road by seeing them first. Ideally, he is also a follower, but one should walk ahead of him to give him light to see. Without this one, both will merely stumble blindly onto nowhere. It is, however, impossible that this one be wholly absent if the goal is healing. He may, however, not be recognized. And so the little light that can be then accepted is all there is to light the way to truth.
Thank you. And we're up to Joan for paragraph 2.
Okay. Healing is limited by the limitations of the psychotherapist, as it is limited by those of the patient. The aim of the process, therefore, is to transcend these limits. Neither can do this alone, but when they join, the potentiality for transcending all limitations has been given them. Now the extent of their success depends on how much of this potentiality they are willing to use. The willingness may come from either one at the beginning, and as the other shares it, it will grow. Progress becomes a matter of decision. It can reach almost to heaven or go no further than a step or two from hell. Oh my.
Wow.
So why are you going like, oh my?
But that's okay.
That step from hell kind of scared me there.
Yeah, but there is hope in that it always says a step or two from
Right.
hell. So it can't possibly be hell, but it may not be all that.
Right.
But it's not going to be toward hell. It may only be a step or two, but at least it's in the right direction. That's why Jesus says, no matter how it looks, only progress can be made from relationships coming together. So you may not see a cure, but those seeds that are planted, even though they don't take root and really grow in that relationship, there can be a cumulative aspect of progress. It may take several of these relationships to see significant progress. So even though it says only about hell, dear Joan, I just want to call your attention to it. Didn't say in hell or deeper in hell. It can't help but be a step or two above. Your comments, anybody, paragraphs 1 or 2?
Well, I'm looking at sentence 2 in paragraph 1. Ideally, he is also a follower, for one should walk ahead of him to give him light to see. Is that talking about the Holy Spirit, this one?
Yeah, I think so.
And so
Absolutely.
this-
And I think
Okay.
it's confirming that it's capitalized when it says one. Lesson 155 says, I will step back and let him lead the way. I think the Holy Spirit is the one that is being spoken of. When we come together every week, I don't have a clue what this is going to be like, but somehow or another, do you feel like Spirit's presence is among us?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Because we're joined in a common goal.
Right.
So Spirit's going to join a relationship. It's difficult for Spirit to fully join you alone. But if you want to see it at work, come together with somebody. Remember how you feel in church, like there's a presence there, not just the preacher or your other congregants, but there's spirit in the room.
Yep, energy.
Okay. So do you see that attests to the veracity of what we're talking about here? And that there is that reality that where two or more are joined in a common goal, progress is always made. Let's go ahead and finish this up. But believe it or not, we will have completed our agenda for tonight. Let's do 3 and 4. And I'm showing we're back to Sherilyn again. Did I?
Already?
All right.
Paragraph
Hey,
3.
Ron. All
Yes.
right, you're back with us.
Yes,
Let's let Ron read
Okay,
paragraph 3. How's that? You know where we are, Ron?
yes, page 8.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
It is quite possible for psychotherapy to seem to fail. It is even possible for the result to look like retrogression. But in the end, there must be some success. One asks for help, another hears and tries to answer in the form of help. This is a formula for salvation and must heal. Divided goals alone can interfere with perfect healing. One wholly egoless therapist could heal the world without a word, merely by being there. No one needs see him or talk to him or even know of his existence. His simple presence is enough to heal.
We'll come back to that, but let's finish. Sherilyn, we're back to you now for paragraph
okay.
4.
The ideal therapist is one with Christ, but healing is a process, not a fact. The therapist cannot progress without the patient, and the patient cannot be ready to receive the Christ, or he could not be sick. In a sense, the egoless psychotherapist is an abstraction that stands at the end of the process of healing. Too advanced to believe in sickness and too near to God to keep his feet on earth. Now he can help through those in need of help, for thus he carries out the plan established for salvation. The psychotherapist becomes his patient, working through other patients to express his thoughts as he receives them from the mind of Christ.
So who is the psychotherapist?
They become one.
Well, I don't want you to miss this.
The patient.
Nope.
No,
but I see where you're coming from. But to me, what it's saying here is that a good psychotherapist always uses his psychotherapist in these sessions,
which is Christ, right?
which is Christ. He may not call it Christ, but he uses his, what you call it, intuitive sense. You remember we read earlier where it said the approach to psychotherapy is not for you to tell the patient what to do,
Right.
but through active listening, allow the patient to kind of tell you what sort of curriculum would be best. So every therapeutics plan is going to be dictated by the patient, not the psychotherapist. And so the good psychotherapist is allowing his psychotherapist to call the shots, because his psychotherapist is alert to the patient's needs. So the psychotherapist is not going to impose his solutions, but is going to follow the guidance of his counselor. Some of you call that the Holy Spirit. The psychotherapist may not call it that. They've learned to follow their intuition, their insight, their empathy. Do you see how, as Jesus said earlier, a good psychotherapist allows the healing curriculum to be dictated by the patient instead of trying to impose his own healing curriculum. So do you see how, as a couple of you were alluding to, the patient is a participant, an active participant in their own healing. So the therapist is actively participating, following the guidance of his therapist and how to do it. And the patient, unbeknowingly, is an active participant in their own healing. So what are their goals? Their common goals: healing.
Healing.
And isn't that the way to restore the memory of God, or whatever you want to call it? So,
Can we call it sanity?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Insanity is the tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. Like it was actually achievable. So you may get off course and say things like, well, when did this all occur? When did the impossible happen? When?
It didn't. It didn't.
Why? Why didn't it happen? Why didn't the impossible happen? Don't search too long.
Because it's impossible.
And when you discover this, you just gotta laugh. It was all a big mistake. And then you say, wow, you call it just a mistake? Look at all this tragedy. It's not even tragic. It's meaningless. Except for one thing. Don't make me start with Dorothy again, okay?
There's no place like home.
It's like
Nobody
home.
got hurt. No bones were broken. Nobody died because it all was a teaching dream. So now we're wiser, and in truth, there was no suffering at all. That's a hell of a plan. Say, why could God be so mean and expose me to all of this? God didn't. You did. But it was God's grace that made it all a dream. Because what you were created as, no terrible stuff like this could ever happen to. So you say, I made a mistake, God's grace, and I'm much better for having this dream. You smiling yet? You should be.
Right.
The happiest ending ever told. Can you think of a better one?
Nope.
And then I woke up and I was back home. Oh my goodness, there's no place like home. We should make a movie out of it. Thank you for coming tonight.
Just did, Jim.
Good deal.
Good tonight. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. I won't keep you longer. Hilda, you want to close us out?
Yep.
Thank you, my friend.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God.
I am
the light of God.
I am the love of God.
I am
I am the love of God.
I am the power of God.
I
I am the power of God.
I am the presence of God.
I am
I am the presence of God.
Therefore,
Therefore,
wherever I am,
wherever I am,
God is,
God is,
and all is well.
and all is well.
There is nothing to fear.
There is
Nothing to fear.
There is only love.
There is only love.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Have a good rest of your week. I'm smiling, man. This will take me into the rest of the week. Thank you for helping brighten my day. And I'll see you next time, okay?
Okay.
You, Jim.
Thanks.
Last week.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Namaste.